everyone. We're back on YouTube and LinkedIn with another live broadcast of our Top Innovator Series. This is where we dive into proven leadership ideas, game-changing strategies, and of course, the brilliant minds that are behind them. My name is Joseph Martens, and I'm excited to introduce today's guest to you. With us today is Ashish Garg. Ashish is the founder and managing partner of Riga Cyber. He's also active as a field CISO, as a CISO advisory board member, and he is on several other advisory boards. And today he's with us in our conversation about leadership. Ashish, it's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Joseph.
Ashish, the topic is leadership and your leadership journey. You've been super accomplished, very successful in that journey. And I'd be curious to hear, what do you attribute this to? What do you think are the ingredients to the success that you've had as a leader?
Yeah, I think that's a great question and something that we all introspect quite a bit, learn during our journey, starting from what we know and how to impart that knowledge to others, how to leverage the knowledge from others. Leadership, in my mind, is not a one-way street. It's not a direction and prescription that you give from one side to the other. It is everything that you stand for, everything that you have to do to help your team, people who are relying on you. And leadership is not just a professional life, in personal life also. You are leading a lot of things. You're learning from a lot of people, aligning and realigning to the goals you have, and bringing people together with your journeys is all about that.
Yeah, it's bringing everything together. It's aligning everything for us and for the teams that we have. I'd be curious, when you think back to your early days as a leader, maybe your first leadership position, what was something that surprised you there? What was something you first became a leader, you thought it's going to be a certain way, and then reality turned out to be so different? What was an experience from that?
It's both ways, the two different things.
Okay.
So one is I always expected that once you become a leader, you made it, you know exactly everything that you need to know, and you can just direct people, and that work will be done. That's never the case. It's just one step in the right direction when you become a leader from individual contributor or when you're trying to lead a project. People will always surprise you with sometimes better leadership on a certain project or better technical abilities that you thought you have it. That's why you made it. But on the other hand, a lot of times you expect people who have been either leaders themselves or have been in that technical position or any kind of experience, a long list of experiences, but they may still not be very easy to align to the roadmap and the vision you have. So on one hand, you see people who are ready to be leader and you are just stepping into it, and you have to kind of learn from their experience and align them to make sure you have their respect and you are able to move them forward. On the other hand, sometimes you have expectations and people who you think will be self-sufficient, and they may need a lot of guidance and a lot of alignment with your roadmap. So that was a learning for me, because when you're not a leader, you don't think about those, but when you do become, you start seeing those patterns very clearly.
Yeah. And like you said, this can be a surprise in either direction. What did you do then when you discovered that? What helped you on the way? What were some steps that you took to get better with that?
Yeah, I think number one thing is listening, understanding, and be accepting of the fact that there are things that you still need to learn. You haven't learned all of that. You just got into that leadership position initially. It's a constant learning, not just because you're learning technical stuff, but you're learning to work with people. You're learning to impart your vision and making sure they understand that vision, or sometimes leveraging their technical skills, their abilities to make your vision and alignment better. So learning, listening to it, and always be humble about it. You never know everything. That's very, very important as a leader to know. Most of the time, I believe in servant leadership, when you're serving the people who report to you, people who are you're responsible for, and you are just removing the hurdles from their path, right? You are a coach, they are the players. You are just, you're not in the game, you don't know their pain and understand. You try to understand, and then you try to give stuff from the sidelines. So that's very important have the recognition of that.
Yeah, yeah. And at the same time, you're never quite in their shoes, right? You can only
Yes.
do your best
Yeah.
of guessing that. I like what you said about remaining humble and being in that servant leadership role. And at the same time, there are moments of pride, right? Where we feel like something went well, something's really well accomplished. Tell me about a moment where you felt really proud of your leadership. So not a product development, nothing related to any achievement in the actual work product, but in terms of your leadership. What was a moment where you felt I did this well? I handled that conversation well, or the relationship with that person went well. Talk to me about
Yeah,
that.
multiple of them, and I
Uh-huh.
have had great people supporting me throughout my career. There one example comes to mind where I was newly appointed leader, and I was trying to figure out the roadmap strategy, working under a lot of pressure and timelines, and then um, I, like I mentioned, I wanted to be humble. So I started describing how I am thinking of this project, right? There were questions from the team I started talking about, and I said, I do not have all the answers, but this is what I
Mm-hmm.
understand and all.
Mm-hmm.
We started defining the strategy together, and then before I know, in that 2 hour workshop we had, people started asking, can I take this module? Can I work on this? By the time we finished the 2 hour meeting, it turned out I did not need to assign it. The delegation was done because people just picked stuff based, and uh, I can talk about as much as I know and talk about, oh, I was such a great leader. But I think all I was doing is I was giving that clarity of vision to them. I was
Okay.
providing that roadmap, and then they started figuring out what they would like to do, and that made my job easy. And in retrospect, I would say that that made me really proud of myself,
Yep.
having been going through that quite a bit without knowing how will
Yep.
it the delegation come about. So yeah,
Yep.
definitely.
That's fantastic. That indicates there's ownership, right? Your team is taking
Yeah.
ownership. They want to step into a particular role. And I almost thought you're gonna say, and at the end I had nothing to do. I thought that's almost the ultimate success, right? That all the
Yes.
work is gone,
Yeah.
someone else does it. Now you said clarity was a contributor to getting to that point. What else do you think was important for your team to step up there and to say, I want this bit, I want this chunk of work, and that they really took ownership of that? What else do you think you did there?
Yeah. So my one of the leadership principle I always go with is that between aptitude and attitude, I'll always choose attitude, because
Oh,
aptitude skills I can
okay.
always teach you. But attitude, it's very hard to
Mm,
change once people grow. Um, accustomed to certain things, they have their own
mm,
mindset. So if you don't have the
yeah,
learning attitude, or you don't think you want to contribute, or you want to work hard or make a project successful, it's very hard, and then
yeah,
that rubs off on the rest of the team. So if you have the right people that you hired for the team, you will have less challenges in my mind, because even if somebody, and I have seen this example firsthand, people who did not know much about it, they came to me after a meeting and say, okay, I do not know everything about what you talked about, but that looks so exciting. I would like to learn and contribute and do that, right? So I think that that helps a lot, because you chose
hmm,
the right people who really want
yeah,
to work hard, learn. Learning is easy, right?
yeah.
You have to put time and effort. Anybody, I think, can learn a lot of things. But if you do not want to work, or you have certain ways that don't align with the team, it just doesn't work very well.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's a great point. And people really have to be willing to step into that context of learning, being ready to say, first, I don't know something, and that creates the context for learning something. Very
Yeah,
nice.
one
Yeah.
second, one second. I had a neighbor with, sorry,
No worries.
lawnmower.
I was just wondering,
Very noisy.
did the cat run over the fence or anything like that? Awesome.
So,
So, talk to me about some of the mentors or the advisors or the people who you had by your side. We all have them, and they look out for us to some extent, right? And they give us advice. I'd be curious to know, what advice were you given? What did they tell you? And maybe even something that you didn't believe at first. Some advice you got, Ashish, do this, and you said, No. And later it turned out, I wish I had done that. This was really better advice than I ever thought possible.
Yeah. How much time do we have? Um, so a lot of that, and I think I'm extremely blessed to have amazing mentors throughout my career, and actually even during my junior and high school, um, who 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 are responsible for where I am, right? Starting with my parents, teaching me that to do the
Hmm.
right thing. But one example comes to mind. I was at a very large Fortune 500 company doing work, and of course, everything is taken care of for you. Everything is spanking clean, right? Everything is the
Yeah.
cafeteria, desks are clean. There's, custodians coming and all taking it, right? So I had that experience, and then I joined a very early stage startup. I joined the first day, the hiring manager takes me to my desk, and it's all dusty, dirty, right? I mean, a very small startup that doing very well, and I'm just frozen there. I'm looking at the desk, and I don't know what to do because in my mind, I don't expect that. I'm coming from a Fortune 500. It's a clean desk, and right. So he goes and grabs one of the Windex or one of the cleaners and this and starts cleaning the desk. And I'm still frozen because I don't know what am I supposed to do? Was I supposed to do it? Because I don't know, right? And he comes back and says, "This is a startup. We do everything here." And that stuck to me 20, 25 years later
Wow.
also. I said, okay, this is amazing. So anytime somebody joins my team or I'm talking to somebody on a mentorship, I said, I will never forget that. Such a small thing, but
Yeah.
that taught me so much, and it still teaches me. It keeps me humble. It keeps me grounded, and and now
Yeah.
I'm a startup founder, so I'm reliving that, right? That I'm doing literally everything that is needed for the
Yeah.
company. So what failed and what I didn't listen, a lot of things, lot of things, because when you start as an engineer, you think you can do anything and you cannot be wrong and you can build anything you want. Um, Scale, I could not understand how much I could actually do myself versus delegating. So that learning, when I was trying to build a company a few years back, I was trying to find the fanciest, sexiest idea to build. And I was told, why are you trying to do that? Because first of all, you have to create a market for it. Nobody knows what you're trying to do, right? Why not take a really boring problem and try to automate and help people with manual labor, removing that and automating it? And
Okay.
I didn't care because you're still after that fancy height. And then, a year later or so, I said, okay, that was so true because if I spent that 1 year doing that, I would probably have a product that everybody wants because nobody wants to do manual labor, right? So a lot of those examples, and I'm really grateful for those mentors.
Awesome stories. Absolutely awesome stories. Ashish, I'm curious, was there a moment that created that turning point or that insight for you? Was that something where you had an aha moment and realized, yeah, it doesn't work? So I get the desk story, I get that. That is the moment, right? But in terms of the delegating, I'm also curious. Is there a moment or is this a gradual development? How did that happen for you?
So it was a um, gradual
Uh-huh.
change for me. There were aha moments, but smaller aha moments, nothing that just changed my entire perspective. But um, a lot of initial struggles in figuring it out when you are a builder and a practitioner, then you're trying to be an operator. And I feel I'm blessed to have seen the research and development to builders to practitioner to now operator. It's a full circle. Um lot of things that I did not know I had to learn, and I kept questioning myself, is it really the right thing? Am I going the right direction? Gradually started believing in myself, the strengths I had, and also recognizing the weaknesses, things that I really suck at, and I should seek help, right? I should be asking others to help. I should be
Yep.
asking for um, mentors and well-wishers to help me. And then as we started growing, started understanding things, we had to pivot. Every time we pivot, I go back to the learnings I had. And I have more aha moments now because now I can squeeze that timeline of whether this is going to be successful or not in much shorter. So I know
Okay.
when to pivot, right?
Yep.
But yeah, it was not a single aha moment and
Yep.
too many hurdles in a startup to say that I suddenly figured out how to make it a billion-dollar company.
Yep. Yep.
But a lot of gradual shifts for sure.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So we talked about past leadership experience, your leadership journey till today. I'd like to take a look at today. When you look at where you are as a leader at the moment, what is an area that you would say you want to work on? What's an area where you feel like this is something where I can grow, I can level up, I can put some of my own energy into my development? What would you say is that area?
So I'm a lifelong learner and I strongly believe in it. So learning new technology, learning new things that I have never done. So if I'm an engineer and I have to do sales, um, there are two learnings there. One is, do I want to learn it? And if I want to learn it, what is the right way to do it? From leadership perspective, I'm still, I think, working on delegation. I have this tendency to kind of start owning more than what I need to. Going forward, I think that's my goal for this year and next year, to keep figuring out what things we can delegate rather than me doing, so that frees up my time to do things that
Yep.
I need to do as the founder, right? I cannot do everything. And that realization happened in last year or two, but old habits die hard. So I'm trying to figure out
Yeah.
how to do more delegation and be the leader that provides that vision and mission
Yeah.
to a broader audience, including our partners, customers, and anybody we touch upon.
Letting go is so hard, right? Because there's so many things connected with it. Our own standards of quality, our own sense of control, our own sense of doing it a certain way. All of that plays into it. So I fully get that this is hard. Yeah. Now let's take a look into the future. Let's say we were to have this conversation again in 3 years, 5 years. And you look at yourself then, at your own leadership, right? Not company, not titles, not products, none of that, but your own leadership, how you show up as a leader. What do you think might be different then? And I know we don't have a crystal ball. I know we're guessing and speculating, but what do you think that might be?
I have a feeling Ashish from a year or two later is going to have even bigger dreams, even bigger goals.
Okay.
Even bigger market to tackle, because what I learned gave me so much confidence. All of us lack confidence when you're starting something totally new because we don't know, it's uncertain. So that is definitely going to be a difference from leadership perspective. I'm refining my company, and I always believed in the culture part of it. So my company is going to have the culture that's going to outlive me. So it's not going to be just, what I believe today, but everybody in the company will believe what the culture is, how working with each other, how to support each other. And we have a very, very open door policy. So anybody in my company can come to me and say what you're talking doesn't make any sense, and here is why.
Yep.
And if they're right, I will say, yes, you're right, I was wrong. Or if I find some flaw in their logic, we can have an open discussion too. But there is we may have whatever titles and things, but the idea is to have that kind of open conversation, so people are not afraid to talk, as long as it is about the product and customers and what we believe in, which is democratizing cybersecurity. That's the culture I want to build. So few years down the lane, bigger dreams, more improved culture, and we'll still keep learning, keep failing, keep growing. That's not going to change for us. That's just our DNA.
I absolutely love that. Bigger dreams in a few years. I think that's an awesome thought, right? And maybe even dreams that today seem too big, seem maybe a little bit scary big, right? Absolutely awesome. Yeah. Let me ask you one more question, Ashish, and then we'll wrap it up. When you look at other people in a similar role as you are, when you look at your peers, what is there something that you think many of them are getting wrong? Many of them are just not seeing in their leadership. There's something that they consistently don't do the right way, and you feel like you've cracked that, or you see something that they don't see. What might that be?
Yeah, I think everybody's journey is different. everybody's leadership journey is different, their personal journeys are different, and more often than not, they both have to align together. So if somebody, it's very hard to say this guy is a bad leader. We don't know, because from outside it's almost impossible to judge anybody without knowing all the circumstances. I do believe that good leaders always care for their people, care for, and they are very vocal about what they believe in. That's good leadership, transparency and caring for people. Um, Anytime you cannot trust your leader, that's a clear sign that they're probably not a good leader. And if people can talk about the leaders behind their back in a positive way, that means they are doing the right thing. That's what I feel always.
Nice, right? When the gossip is positive, that's a good sign.
That's a good
Paraphrasing, wildly paraphrasing what you said there. I like this. Okay, Ashish, thank you so much. This was absolutely awesome. I really, really like this thought of the dreams will be bigger in the future. And your story about the desk, that completely resonated. My early career stations were at Deloitte and Mercedes-Benz. The desks were clean at that time. Yeah. Ashish, thank you so much. It was great to have you here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate Joseph.
To everyone else out there, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. And most importantly, join us again for the next episode of the Top Innovator Series. And until then, keep your brain cells active.